Hi, thanks for joining us. In case you don't know who I am, and you probably don't, I'm filling in. I'm Heather Childers. Thanks for sticking with us for FoxNewsLive.com. Be sure to join us in the chat area. Anything that you have to say about Super Tuesday, President Obama's news conference yesterday, or any of the topics that we've been talking about, let us know your thoughts, and we'll try to share them with others. Right now, we're going to go to our second political panel of the day. Lucky us, Richard Fowler, who is the host of the Richard Fowler Show, We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM in D.C. You can also find him at Richard A. Fowler on Twitter. He joins us from D.C. And also, my good friend, Ford O'Connell, joining us, who is the chairman of Civic Forum PAC and co-founder of Project Virginia, also on Twitter at Ford O'Connell. Thank you both for joining us from D.C.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
So let's talk about your thoughts from yesterday, Super Tuesday. I asked Liz Peek and Tony Welch earlier, any big surprises? So I'll begin with that question. Any big surprises, Richard?
No, not really. I will say this. The one interesting that I want to point out here is for the fact that Mitt Romney spent so much money in the state of Ohio to only win by such a small margin really shows the distaste that members of the Republican Party have for him. Really?
Ford? What do you think?
Richard, my friend, a win is a win is a win. Just ask President Obama and Hillary Clinton in 2008. It'd be nice to win by more, but all you got to do is win and get the delegates.
Yeah, it's all about delegates, Richard, and he won 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 is not bad. Come on.
Oh no, it's not. I don't think it's bad at all, Heather. Don't get me wrong. I think a win is a win. I think the question going forward is what the outlooks look for Mitt Romney winning a lot of these southern states. There's no question that he is the nominee in waiting for the GOP nomination. But I think we'll see he's going to have a really big problem in the southern states, and that is a bigger problem as we get closer and closer to November, and he faces President Obama, which will do very well in the northern states and in states where Mitt Romney won last night.
All right, and Ford, Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich are favored to do better in the southern states, especially with Newt Gingrich staying in the race. What are your thoughts about that? Should Newt stay in the race?
You know, to be perfectly honest with you, the best thing that's going on for Mitt Romney right now is the fact that Newt is staying in the race, and the two will vie for the working class, conservative vote. That said, though, if Mitt Romney wants to close the door, the best way he can do it is by winning the South and proving he's a candidate in all regions. Richard, my friend, I got to tell you something. With this bad economy and with rising gas prices, all the eventual Republican nominee has to do is win Florida, Ohio, and Virginia. And guess what? President Obama's out of a job. So
but that's going to be. But that's hard to do, though, Ford. That's a little hard to do. That's a little hard to do. And I'll tell you why it's hard to do. The first reason why it's hard to do is because what we've seen from Republicans in Virginia is instead of making this about jobs, making it about the economy, they'd rather talk about vaginal probes. In states like Florida, instead of making it about jobs and the economy, you've seen Rick Scott, their governor there, not only try to kneecap nurses, firefighters, and teachers, but what also you've seen them not really try to reach out to Hispanic voters. And in a state like Ohio, with the auto industry coming back and manufacturing jobs returning to America under President Obama, Mitt Romney's going to have a really hard time trying to convince those individuals that he's the best candidate.
Okay, all I heard in that
Richard,
was,
I do agree. My party does need to make inroads with independents and Hispanics, but I will say this. No statewide candidate who's been a Democrat has won in Ohio or Virginia since President Obama's taken office. Obviously, President Obama's government knows best policies aren't really working for the American people.
Okay, let's go. I want to jump in here, and no more vaginal probes and kneecapping firefighters and teachers. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's listen to what Mitt Romney had to say specifically about jobs last night, when he referenced the president failing us. If we have that, can we roll that soundbite from last night from Mitt Romney? Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. That's just a tease. We're just teasing you. We'll come back to the panel in a moment. And now, quickly, if we could just go back to our panel for a moment. And I'm just going to say thanks because I have to wrap you up. But let's get the final word from each of you. Richard, I'll start with you, then Ford. 30 seconds. Can you keep it at 30 seconds?
I can do that, Heather.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me. I think one thing that the American people can look to is that we're going to see, hopefully, next we'll see 24 consecutive months of private sector job growth, auto industry that's back. It's a great thing for President Obama.
Okay. And you have 10 seconds, Ford.
Mitt Romney is going to be the eventual nominee. The only question is when, and if we're actually recovering, we're going to need another recovery to get over this one.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being succinct. We're losing your window now, though. Bye. Thank you. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.